Today in the shop we're diagnosing a 2016 F-150 that's running rough. While driving this truck into the shop today, it felt like it had a dead miss on one of the cylinders. And I'm going to start diagnosis by pulling all the codes on this vehicle. And I'm going to be using Ford's IDS scan tool today for diagnosis. We have a 2016 Ford F-150 with a 2.7 liter EcoBoost engine and looks like 121,000 miles on it. Let's go ahead and pull all the codes on this and see what that shows.
A few moments later.
In the PCM we have a P0316 misfire detected on startup, a P0306 cylinder 6 misfire code, a P0303 cylinder 3 misfire, and a P0300 random misfire detected code. Next, I think we're going to run a power balance test to determine which cylinder was the dead miss I felt when I drove this truck into the shop. A power balance test uses the data from the crankshaft position sensor to measure the increase or decrease in the crankshaft speed when each cylinder fires. Basically, it gives you all the cylinder Excel PIDs on the screen together at the same time so you can compare them against each other. And as you can see here, we have a dead miss on cylinder number 6. Next, I think we're going to run a relative compression test. A relative compression test works similar to the power balance test we just ran, except the scan tool disables engine starting and the engine cranks for 10 seconds. Then by looking at the cylinder Excel PIDs, it determines how much crankshaft speed is lost or gained when each cylinder comes up on compression, and it can use that to estimate the compression of each cylinder relative to the other cylinders. And as you can see here, we have very low compression on cylinder number 6. So this isn't an ignition coil or spark plug issue. We actually have valve train, piston ring damage, something. We're losing all the compression on cylinder number 6. And I wish I had gotten audio of this engine cranking because you could hear it had a dead cylinder when it was cranking over. There is a TSB about this kind of issue on certain build dates of 2.7 liter engines, and this one does fall right in the middle of those build dates. TSB 19-2384. And the issue in this TSB is excessive valve guide clearance and oil consumption due to it. I've only previously ran into one 2.7 that had that issue, and that was a fairly new truck several years ago. I think it had about 10,000 miles on it, and I believe we measured about 45 thousandths valve stem to valve guide clearance. And that was side-to-side clearance, not in the direction guides normally wear in. At the time, I thought that was faulty machine work on the new cylinder heads before the engine was assembled. And that engine was using about a quart of oil in 800 miles and just starting to run a little rough. Now I'm going to take a quick second here and check the oil level on this engine, just see if we can verify oil consumption along with this problem. And the oil level is off the dipstick. It's at least a couple quarts low. At this point in time, I think it's probably time to speak with the customer about the vehicle and where we're at on diagnosis and see what they want to do. We could do some additional diagnosis. We could do a cylinder leak down test and verify it is going past the valves. We could pull the valve cover and verify that it is excessive valve guide clearance causing the issue. And then there's the discussion of repair options. 121,000 miles, I would probably be leaning towards recommending a complete engine replacement, as opposed to replacing the cylinder heads, or I suppose you could even send the heads out and have the valve guides replaced, but putting guides in the heads or replacing the heads with new heads, it's really not going to be very cost effective labor-wise on an engine with 121,000 miles. I would probably lean towards complete engine replacement, and then at least you have a new engine. What are your thoughts? What would you recommend? If you found this helpful or interesting, please click the like button down below. I got a lot more great stuff coming up, so please subscribe. And as always, have a great week.